me when really successful people make really, really bad investments or make really, really bad deals or make really, really bad judgments, that sometimes that they cannot see the failure right in front of their own face to save their own life. And this goes for myself included. Now, I don't know if you would call me successful. I don't know. I get to do this for a living. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. But it always baffles me. Like, man, why could you make that decision? And I look at this weekend and I look at right now. Like, I look at the Saints are flying to Philadelphia to interview Kellen Moore to be their next head coach. You know, the Saints, who were the first team in the NFL to fire a head coach, they still don't have one. They're going to be the last one to hire because pretty much everybody keeps telling them no of what it seems like of who they want, because your franchise is not run in the same direction. It was reported this weekend that Aaron Glenn had come out and said that, hey, I will come here, but I don't want Mickey Loomis running things. And they said, well, that's not going to happen. And they said, all right, well, then I'm going to the Jets. So there are so many things that I look at, like Gail Benson as an example, and say to myself, how can you not see the misses right in front of your face of the problems that are going on? And then you have Mickey Loomis, the Looney Tune right now of Mickey Loomis. Just because we're not having the results doesn't mean that we're not doing the right stuff. My guy, you just fired a head coach that you hired, and you're now going to be on your third coach in 5 years. Don't tell me that you're having success. The head coach that was with you the longest, when Drew was not there anymore, he said, oh, look, man, football's called up to me. I'm retiring. He didn't want to retire. He didn't want to be with you. It's like your wife divorces you and then says, I just really don't want to be married. I want to be by myself. And then 5 months later, she was with a new dude. I get more comments on AYS content about us not talking to Saints. And I just got to admit, it is very frustrating to love the Saints, to want to talk them. But I've made a promise. I'm not going to do it. You're an unserious organization. Now, I have no idea where they're going as their next head coach. No clue, don't care. But you let Joe Brady walk this weekend. He doesn't want none of that smoke. He didn't want none of that action. I think you need an organization facelift, if I'm just being honest. And that's not a shot at Gail Benson, who might have had one or two, but it is a shot at you're not going in the right direction. You're not. You better pray to God that Kellen Moore says yes. Why would he say yes, by the way? Can you please tell me what there's any reason of why he would say yes other than being a head coach? Because I do not know one. I don't. The Saints are not a good selling point right now. That's why you keep having those problems. Christopher Westbank says, let's go. Good to have you in here. Terry sends in the tiger emoji. Speaking of the Tigers, we're 6 minutes into the show. We haven't even talked to Tigers yet. That's got to be a record in a first, but it's not. But speaking of little rants that I could not go on, doesn't really matter. I got to say this. South Carolina and LSU played each other Friday night, or Friday at 4, whatever you want to call that. Night, not night, whatever. And during the game, they played a song from the father of Flau'jae Johnson, who passed away too soon. South Carolina came out and basically admitted that it was premeditated, because of course it's premeditated. And they came out and said that they've suspended the DJ that played the song until further notice. That's all? You want to be that petty? So I've been very vocal in reference to Actually, I hadn't said anything at all really on this show. But I do think South Carolina kind of got a little screwed in the game versus LSU in football this year. Yeah, we can keep that. Because you being as low and dirty as a program that you are to do and pull something like that, it's not first class. Then you have your new head baseball coach and Paul Maneri saying, oh, South Carolina's the loudest environment football-wise that I've ever been in. Okay, Paul. I see the petty that you're trying to throw my way. In case you didn't see it, that's what Paul Maneri said this weekend, your ex-head baseball coach. Loudest place to play football is in South Carolina. Okay, you Rudy Poo. Oh, my neck hurts. Bullshit. So I started off this show by saying it always surprises me when very successful people make dumb decisions. Like South Carolina women's basketball. Very successful. That's a dumb decision. Very dumb situation to be in. Or the New Orleans Saints. Mickey, you were a part of Super Bowl runs. You were a part of NFC title games. You saw, Sean, more than anybody of what it's run like. Did you not learn anything? Did you legitimately not learn anything? What were you doing? And then Paul Maneri, who, whether you like him or not, did have a lot of success at LSU. Won a national title, got to another. Got to Omaha multiple times at LSU. More than multiple times. And you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that Paul does not know and saying about South Carolina and that being the loudest environment, knowing the state of Louisiana and what the fans and what it means, that you don't know that you're not going to be taking a shot? Of course he knew he was going to be taking a shot. Of course he knew. Because Paul Maneri, whether you want to like it or not, is petty. He's very petty. He's been petty. And I've warned you about him being petty. We've had rants on this show about him being petty. Nobody wanted to talk shit to me or say anything to me when I had a big freak out during the baseball season when they allowed Paul Maneri to go on SEC Network and sit up there and say, well, hey, guys, you know that last year's team, a lot of my players were actually the ones that were key contributors in that run. Shut the front door, you no good lint liquor. Are you kidding me? You did not bring in Paul Skeens. Dylan Cruz, I got to give you, clearly. You didn't bring in Tommy White, who, by the way, Tommy White was the one that hit the home run to send them to the finals. You Rudy Poo. You outright buffoon. Successful people making business decisions that will wind up turning up being dumb for them. I'm going to tell you before the baseball season starts, and I'm going to continue to repeat it throughout. So it won't be the last time you hear this. I am more ready for that South Carolina series than any other baseball series this season. I want to go to Columbia, and I want to lay that STTDB all over their ass. Successful people making dumb decisions. All right. Got lots to get into. Brian Kelly on the move. Can't wait for this tight end position to be over with. It's literally the question that we field the most here. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. But Brian Kelly on the move. Some significant things I want to throw away from Brian Kelly being on the move and in recruiting. Jay Johnson talks to the media. We will get to that. LSU Baseball Media Day. Obviously, we're getting into that. I feel that the coach that I saw when it comes to LSU baseball, literally has confidence. I'm telling you, I can feel it in what Jay Johnson was putting down. Really good weekend. John Eads from WAFB joins us at 7:35. Looking forward for John to be with us. He was at the scrimmages all weekend. We're going to get his thoughts, and you can get your questions in for him as well. Let's get to a couple comments before we get rolling. Craig Kolb, our good friend. Craig, good to have you in here, my good man. Says, wish the South Carolina series was in Baton Rouge this year. I do too. And you know what's even crazier, Craig? The last time that we played South Carolina during the Skeens year, that series was in Columbia. Bro, I don't care what anybody tells me. Everybody tells me that Greg Sankey is the best commissioner in sports. Okay, let's roll through that very quickly. Officiating, umpiring, refereeing has been worse than it's ever been in the SEC. Clearly we saw that on Friday night, but if you're not ready for baseball, you better get ready for baseball because it's going to be very bad. Officiating's got to be this biggest blunder, but I'm trying to think of other things. Scheduling. I feel like that they're just like, oh, it doesn't really matter. We're the SEC. We can do whatever we want. You're making LSU go to Oklahoma and Texas. Two teams that are coming into the SEC. They should be coming to Baton Rouge. You're going to pander to Texas because for whatever reason, you give them the easiest schedule coming out. These Rudy Poos. I ain't going to hear it. Stanky is not the best. I would really want to know who is the best, though. That's the only thing. You have a very bad pool to pick from. Chase Thompson says, I was there for that series in Columbia, South Carolina. The fans are genitalias, is what he says, but he doesn't use that word. Very much true. Alexander Taylor says, Trey Green is the next Antonio Gage, Jimmy Graham. I've seen enough. Yeah. Bro, Trey Green played in the basketball game against Alabama this weekend. I know everybody's seen it by now that's going to watch the show. But the breakaway dunk that he had coming off the block, oh, my God. Dude, he's a freak. Look, man, that's why the tight end position and filling that position is such a massive deal. Now, I do think that there's going to be some teams. Look, man, I want you to make a decision soon. Let's get this thing locked down. We'll talk about that, but Brian Kelly's on the move as well. Does that mean that he's got things wrapped up and locked up? So we'll talk about that as well. All right, let's get over to a quick break. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag, our good friends over at J&J Exterminating, and our good buddy, Tyler Alexander over at LPT Realty. Before we do that, let's talk about our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Guys, you want to do fantasy for the Super Bowl? You want to make the best ultimate fantasy picks for the Super Bowl? Want to even do it in basketball? You can do that as well. Go to Underdog Fantasy today. Use that promo code AYS for your chance and a potential to win up to $1,000 and get that free pick on your first play. That's Underdog Fantasy, where the game begins. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, got lots to discuss. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
You want to know how we're in the off season of college football? There is no really true off season when it comes to college football. But do you want to know how I know for a fact that we're in the off season? PFF about an hour ago came out with a video that says Texas A&M is a top 10 team heading into 2025. And all I got to say is I feel like that we do that every single year for Texas A&M. When are we going to say that they got to go out there and prove it? Now, I've already said that for LSU. Look, man, I'm not giving you the accolades this year. You're going to have to go out and prove a lot of things. A lot of things, and you're going to have to do it on the field. You did have a really good transfer portal class. Let's go out there and do it. Let's stop talking about it and let's start being about it. But that's how I know that we're in the offseason. I know that we're in the offseason because, yet again, it's another year where A&M might be a top 10 team. Truth be told, though, they do have some really interesting pieces that they brought in. What happens with Hudson, who I know has got a little situation going on, but they brought in Concepcion, Marcel Reed is their quarterback. Do get a really good stable of running backs that do return there too, with a pretty decent offensive line. Not saying that they couldn't, but that's how I know that it is the offseason. Okay. John Eads joins us at 7:35, so we got some time here before we need to get rolling to him. But we got to get to two head coaches. You know what we talk about on the show. We're not going to hide it. I know that LSU went up to Columbia and lost, and then won against Texas A&M with women's basketball. Great game. And Sunday, bad game. Friday, you can't turn the ball over like that. They defensively smothered you. I don't know what else to say. But Brian Kelly's on the move in recruiting. There are some things that I want to take away from this. And the things that I want to take away from this are pretty easy for me. Brian Kelly meeting with a lot of big boys. And not on the offensive side of the football exclusively, but he's out there recruiting exclusively. And a lot of the things that they want to be known or shown is that he's out recruiting the big fellas. Listen, man, it is very well documented and very well known. You got to win up front. You brought in 4 defensive linemen for the portal. We've talked about them enough. We don't have to discuss that tonight. But we haven't talked a lot about the offensive line. And what we haven't talked about the offensive line is pretty much, well, what do you do with a top 10 pick that you have to replace in Will Campbell? Can you even remotely come close to replacing that? I don't know. Could Tyree Adams hold up? I think that Tyree Adams did good at left tackle. But Brian Kelly, Brad Davis, and Joe Sloan are all on the move here. I know that BK is going to make some other moves. I know that he's going to be visiting other players, skill players, quarterbacks, etc. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he? When a coach goes out and he makes first stops, he makes ultimate decisions of where he wants to go. You cannot convince me, from Kirby Smart to Nick Saban to Brian Kelly to Steve Sarkisian or whatever, that these aren't highly calculated, and that they're not highly calculated on what they think about the current situation of what they need to go out there and replenish. He's telling you. Now, I do think that you got to continue to, number one, recruit at a high level along both lines of scrimmage, but especially you got to be able to develop. I have a lot of faith in Bo Davis. I have a lot of faith in Kevin Peoples at the current moment. Can you continue to build that? Can you continue to replicate that is a massive question mark. This league is one up front. Now, there are 4 teams in the SEC this year that did not meet up to expectations. Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia to an extent, but it's still Georgia, but they did not live up to their standards, and LSU. All 4 of them, the same thing that they all had in common was their offensive line was not good enough, and they got pushed around. Does that continue to repeat itself? That was an issue with the SEC. But specifically speaking about LSU for the moment, look, you're really going out there and making moves. You've been able to lean on when you've gone out and recruited, especially a tackle, that you had Emory Jones and Will Campbell returning. Those days are over with. There's a new era, a new page, and a new thing that you got to turn to. Them recruiting up front and them showing that they're recruiting up front from your head coach, which is making a statement whether you want to believe it or not. You going out there and doing that is a big deal to me. Now, LSU's entire staff is on the move. And I will tell you, there are some people that I talk to in this industry, trust in this industry, some with LSU, some not at LSU. I will tell you this about all of them at the current moment. They've all said this to me. LSU feels from a recruiting standpoint that there's a little bit different swag to them. What do I mean? LSU did some things in the portal and we all knew that. But if you talk to some people around the SEC specifically about what they think about LSU's current situation. Hey, you had to go in the portal. You missed on some guys. You had guys leaving the portal. You had to go get some talented guys in the portal. But you're LSU. You should be able to recruit through high school and dominate recruiting through high school just in your own state. I think Austin Thomas needs a lot of credit. I think that this entire staff needs a lot of credit in what they're doing. They're not scared to get in these situations with money fights right now, especially with high school situations. Now, if there are some teams and some players, they're like, hey, man, I'm demanding X, Y, and Z. You don't want to pay that or think that a kid's worth that, by all means, don't do it. I feel that there is a little bit of a different swagger there. Can they close? What can they do? Can they hit on their targets? Can they hit on the number one target in their state right now? It's an ultimate question that everybody's got to answer. It's not going to be for the lack of the issues of what they've had in the past. A question was brought up to me, though, in the football edition of this. And it was pretty simple. Blake, with BK being out and about and moving and shaking and shaking hands, kissing babies and all that, do you feel that a tight end coach is imminent and that hire being imminent? I do think that they're trying to finalize some things. I do. And I get skittish when I see Twitter and there's notifications and, hey, man, did they finally hire one? I think that I said this last week and I was wrong. I felt like last week that the guy that they were targeting, it would have been over by now. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But when you wait this long, it's either for two reasons. Either number one, you want to go after somebody in the NFL, or you're finalizing things with a coach that has not been hired yet that has a prominent name. Can't wait too long for these college guys, though. The NFL, that's a whole different story for a different day. Feels a little bit Matt House-ish in a way. I mean, you kind of figured it might be Matt House, but you didn't fully know where they were going. His name had been floated around a little bit. Brian Kelly keeping things close to the vest. For what it's worth, I like that things get pretty much held to the vest when Brian Kelly's involved. That means his inner circle is tight. It means, listen, I don't want this stuff out there. It means that you got your staff's mind right. I do think that you have a pretty good idea of where they've been going or what they're looking for. Names and finalized and all that, I don't know. I don't think Brian Kelly going out on recruiting visits is him stopping in a search for a tight ends coach or a run game coordinator along with tight ends coach. Now, I do think that hiring the special teams coordinator and Ahmad Anan is somebody that you're like saying, hey, we're going to bring in a tight ends coach that doesn't have any special teams experience. I think that you give that to Ahmad, if I'm being quite frank and honest. But, man, it's the number one question I get asked every day, and I don't know how not to address it. I don't know how not to address that. But it's going to be interesting. I've told you where I would go. I told you what I would do. And I'm not going to continue to bore you with the details. But one thing that I would continue to bore you with, you got to get better in the run game. There is a situation where the data point does prove that the teams that didn't meet expectations this year could not run the football. That being LSU, Ole Miss, Georgia, I mean, even Texas to some extent, if you want to talk about it, and it being Alabama and you. O-line play was bad in the SEC this year. Very bad in the SEC this year. Quarterback play was down too, but it was what it was. We'll see, man. We'll see. All right, John Eads joins us in just a minute. John Eads says, hey, Blake, I'm ready to join whenever. I think you may have sent me the wrong link. Just wanted you to know. Well, I hope that I did not send him the wrong link. Guys, can we send him the right link? Psh. 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 I sent him the wrong link. That's on me. John Eads, come in whenever. I think we sent you the link. Spectrum Wellcare says, would help if Sloan could scheme for the running game. Listen, I've literally, I've heard people say that. I've, whatever. I literally got in a dumb debate with somebody this weekend about, well, imagine you having to bring in two different coordinators that pay two different guys for one job. You mean like Ed did with Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger? Like, are you an idiot? It's not that it can't work. It can work. It's been massively successful before. So I think that Sloan needs somebody helping him in the run game. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be him. Is Hudson really going back to Texas Tech? I did not see that. Oh, boy. That's not good. Tiger Boy says we need a bell cow back. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Man, I tweeted this here in the game, and I know our friends over at Mic'd Up kind of checked me on it, but it's funny. They didn't really check me on it, but they just they knew I was talking shit about LSU when I said this. Bro, did y'all see the Commanders? Did you see Saquon Barkley this weekend? I mean, guys, I want a running game. I want a moderate running game. Not a quarterback that's got to bail you out and be generational. Like, if you cannot line up and run the football, you ain't winning diddly squat. It is not going to happen. So, yeah. All right. I think the right link has now been sent to John Eads. He's been out of the baseball scrimmages. It is baseball season. I could smell the crawfish in the air. I literally didn't have crawfish last year, y'all. I didn't. What a damn shame. Crying shame. All right. Let me get to a quick break. John Eads, WAFB, joins us next. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Our good friend John Eads, WAFB. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm great. Doing well. It was a little bit of a cold day out there, but saw some baseball and ready to talk about it, man. How are you?
You also look like that you're about to go to Boston and hang out with Ben Affleck, and you're about to go like rob like the what's the Green Monster? What's the baseball Fenway Park? That's what you look like. Has anyone told you that you could pull off a Ben Affleck movie?
I think you were the first. I've been told many things. That's maybe one of the nicer things, so I appreciate it.
Hey, listen, in this conversation tonight, we're not going to beat anybody up. I can't tell you what we're going to do, but we're going to have fun. That sounds a little bit something like what Ben Affleck in that movie, I forget what it's called, would say.
Checks out for me. Yeah.
All right, John Eads, WAFB, who was at the scrimmage this weekend. Let me ask you this before we get rolling. You were at Jay Johnson's press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right, wrong, or indifferent in thinking this way? I felt a coach during that press conference who was highly confident in the team that he had. Am I wrong in feeling that like Jay was kind of, hey, man, we're going to be good? Like I walked away from Jay's press conference saying, oh, man, he really thinks this team could be Omaha bound.
I think he's a confident guy, but he's earned that because the guy never sleeps, right? He's always out recruiting. He's always out doing things to make this team better. You know, like last year, the season was kind of headed in a very bad direction, and he got it back on track. And darn, they almost hosted a super regional, went to Omaha. You know, like he's a great game day coach, but he works 365 days out of the year. If there were more days, he'd probably work them. If there were 25 hours in the day, he would work them as well. So he should be confident because he knows the amount of work he put in this offseason to get these transfers in here, and he knows what kind of team he can possibly have this year with all these ingredients, these freshmen, the returnees, the guys he got out of the portal. It's just a matter of putting it all together. But it seems like he knows what the vision is based on the things he learned last year, how he can find that winning recipe sooner and squeeze the most out of this team that he can, whether that be, you know, a trip to the NCAA tournament or Omaha.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. I felt like the whole time, you're right. Look, he doesn't put in sleep. I mean, the dude literally tweeted a tiger emoji at 2:37 a.m. one morning. I mean, like the dude literally will do whatever it takes to win, and you got to love that for him. But you're right. He felt confident, and I think he feels confident, you're right, because of the work that he puts in. Look, confidence comes from preparation, right? Like I always literally talk about this when you go into a test or you go into a midterm or you go into a final. You don't worry about it because you know that you've studied, right? Like you know that you know the material, so you're not worried about it. Jay knows that you're right, that he has the ingredients. But then now the ingredients, look, man, we're about 2 weeks away here from the season kicking off. I mean, I know it's on Monday, but, man, Friday will be here before you know it. It's 2 weeks. Here we go. John, you've been out there. What's the biggest thing that you've seen so far from this team? Is there something that's standing out to you?
I think what I like is that they're coming together. I see a lot of guys forming those bonds and relationships. I know it's a lot of new players. There's only 12 guys back that played in a game for this team from last year. Other than that, you got guys from UC San Diego, Pearl River Community College, Utah Valley State, schools I've never even heard of. So, you know, you kind of wonder, no disrespect, I'm just saying, you know. You kind of wonder about how they'll gel and mold as a team because it's hard to build those relationships year after year. You know, it's not like college used to be where you come in with the guys in the freshman class and you graduate with them when you're seniors, fifth year seniors, whatever it is. So I've liked that I've seen a lot of relationship building and, you know, guys picking each other up. vocally, whatever it is. But I have my questions. I have my doubts. From a pitching standpoint, you lose Gage Jump, you lose Luke Holman. Those guys are not going to be easy to replace as starters. Jay Johnson said outside of Paul Skeens, those are the best 2 pitchers he thinks he's ever had in college. Not to mention Griffin Herring, who probably would have been a 3rd starter, but obviously the ace out of the bullpen. You got to replace him. From an offensive standpoint, and this is broad strokes, you're losing 2 of your top 3 power hitters. Hayden Travinski, Tommy White, they combined for 40 home runs. You have Jared Jones back, but who's going to replace that power? There's no one obvious that's sticking out. So what I'm seeing is a completely different team, and they're going to have to win games differently this year. It's going to be more of a sum of the parts kind of thing. Jay Johnson mentioned the movie Moneyball. It's kind of a popular, almost cliche thing for coaches to do, to talk about that movie. But that's what it's going to have to be this year, manufacturing things, using the depth and all the different pieces he's brought in to put together the winning recipes on a game-in, game-out basis. Every player is going to have a couple responsibilities. They're going to have to execute those responsibilities perfectly every game to get this thing to come together in each 9-inning sequence.
John, that's a hell of a roster when it comes to talent, talent v talent. It's still you're money balling necessary. And I heard when he said that too, and I'm like,
yeah,
my guy, you literally have 12 guys that have hit above 300 in college.
Yeah.
Right? So then there comes that second part, and you're right. And you know what's crazy about baseball too? Daniel Dickinson comes in as a preseason All-American, guy that's been at second base. So you're pretty much moving Steven Milan because of what's going on with Danny Dickinson, right?
Yeah. No, that's advantageous. That's good.
Right. The thing that I look at with everybody saying, well, what's going to happen in the SEC with Danny Dickinson is, well, first off, this is not football. This is not basketball. It's a different sport. But the second thing that I look at, I saw 2 dudes from the Ivy League hit above 350 at Texas A&M last year.
Right.
So baseball is just a different beast when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. But listen, let's talk about that, because you talk about the sum of the parts. They stole more base. I retweeted every video I saw of yours this weekend, okay?
Appreciate it.
And it literally comes back because I'm like, dude, are you not seeing Chris Stanfield stealing bases, Danny Dickinson stealing bases? Yep. I'm like, no, this is not Jay Johnson baseball that we've seen. Now, they can hit for a ton, but it's going to be a completely different way about going about it. The way that I would think about it is it's like A&M a year ago in a lot of ways, right? Meaning you're not going to have multiple guys with 15-plus home runs.
Yes.
You're going to have a lot of them with 12, though, and that's going to be a big thing. Now, let me ask you this. You talked about some things that stood out. Is there a player that stood out to you this weekend?
Man, there's a lot of them, honestly. Which is a good
let's
thing,
go through
right?
them.
Chris Stanfield is the guy that really, and there's so many, I don't want to pick one, forgetting about the others. But Chris Stanfield, every time I've seen him, he's impressed me. He's got power. I've seen him hit home runs. I see him hit 2-out singles. When he gets on the base path, this guy is like the Flash. He's so quick. I saw him steal bases successfully, aggressive base running. If they do a hit and run from first, he could probably make it all the way home in the right situation. And then defensively out in the outfield, he tracks the ball well. He's got good hips. I saw him make a diving play back in the fall. He's got everything you could want in an outfielder. And people kind of sleep on his offense. He hit 276, but he led Auburn's team in multi-hit games. So he can bring some of that pop. I would love him as a leadoff guy. I know Michael Braswell excelled in that role down the stretch last year, but he's a guy that can get on base and then do some real damage when he's on base. You could make it easy on him and have Jared Jones hit a home run. He could just jog all the way home. But Chris Stanfield's a guy that I think right off the rip I got to mention.
Look, it's funny you say this. Literally last Thursday before the scrimmage started, I went out there two times during the fall. One with me and Chris Phillips, and then me and another buddy went out there. He was the best player on the field that day. That day, he was the best player on the field. It wasn't remotely close. I think he went 3 for 4. He had a home run there. He had an absolutely insane catch.
He had a double.
He had a double. It's insane. Here's another thing, too. Look, man, I literally saw Jay do this with a guy that struggled in the SEC a year ago, right? And Michael Braswell.
Yep.
Dude hit above 310.
Yep.
The dude hit 314. Am I getting that again in Chris Stanfield? Somebody with SEC experience that's coming over to LSU that could do that again. And if he does that from the leadoff spot, you're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I think so, because he got good experience over there. I think he's going to come in and take one of these starting outfield jobs. Now, there's a lot of guys out there, that Jake Brown, Ashton Larson, Ethan Fry. Like, there's 7 or 8 guys that they could deploy, which Coach Johnson says speaks to how well they've recruited, and he does not mind rolling that depth. But Stanfield's a guy that, to me, needs to be starting most of those games based on what I've seen. And it's not a situation of, all right, he looked good on this day. Seriously, it's been a consistent thing. He's making an impact in some form or fashion, defensively or offensively or special teams, if you want to call it that, when he's stealing bases and stuff. Let me mention one more outfielder. Derek Curiel, the freshman. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because this guy's playing in a minor league system right now. Man, very talented. He added 13 pounds since the fall. He's gotten bigger. Coach Johnson said he needed to do that. Today, he had 3 catches, one against the wall. Cade Beatty was like inches away from a home run, but he had one where he had to flip his hips, get back there and catch it. He came up to catch a shallow bloop that could easily be a single, and then he took away what could have been a double from, I want to say it was Ethan Fry, in the left center gap. That could have been dangerous. So he's going to bring a lot to the table from that left field spot in terms of turning extra base hits or singles into outs. Coach Johnson mentioned their Biloxi scrimmage. He had like 2 or 3 catches where he flipped his hips and things like that. That you just don't see from freshmen and really not from college-level outfielders. And then from an offensive standpoint, guy's a double machine. I've seen him hit many doubles. He had an RBI single today in a late-game situation with a guy on second base. So I think he's another guy that as a freshman, he's just too good to keep off the field.
Jay did mention, too, in the press conference that at minimum, and this is per him, I think what he's saying is he's going to get these upperclassmen a shot here. And then in late game situations, Derek Curiel's coming in. That's literally how I read it. And he made no bones about it. I mean, go back and listen to him. He literally said, and it's the ultimate Jay Johnson. What did he do last year? I think it was Paxton Kling that would come in 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever it was. Hey, man, better defender. We're putting him in center field. It's going to happen. I think it's that kind of situation, but you're just trying to give upperclassmen a shot before he takes over completely. Do you feel that right now going into the season?
Honestly, I don't, because he was their starting left fielder in Biloxi, their first game against Samford. Like, he was in the starting lineup, and every time I've seen him out there, he hasn't been coming off the bench. He's been out. I think he's too good. You need him on the field at all times for his defense. And then the pitchers have said when he's at the plate, he really makes you work. Every pitch he evaluates and takes some really good level at bats. So I think everything together, he's just too good to keep in the dugout over somebody because they're older than him, as unfortunate as that is.
Dude, they're loaded out there. I don't know. I do not know what they're going to do, and that's a great problem to have.
Right.
Another freshman I want to ask you about, who basically was on your timeline the entire weekend.
I know who
Cade Beatty.
Yeah. Man, he's a stud. He's wild.
Is he your day one starting catcher as a freshman?
Well, Luis Hernandez was their starter in Biloxi, and I know I'm putting a lot of stock in that. I'm just sharing information because, we're not at practice every day. I think they have 3 guys they really like, and I think the top 2 are Luis Hernandez from Indiana State and then Cade Beatty. And with what he does, it wouldn't surprise me if he worked into that role. He could get it day one. Like, he does everything well. I've seen him have a couple wild throws on bunts, throwing to first and things like that. Situational stuff. But at the plate, man, as I said, he was this close to hitting a home run today, multiple RBI, like very, very close. Took Ashton Larson all the way back to the warning track. And then yesterday he had a 2 RBI double to the left center gap. He's got pop. He's got power. He hit 360 in the fall with 6 doubles. He's got a good arm. He threw out somebody at second base who was stealing today. He's vocal, he's present as a catcher. So I think he's another guy. All these freshmen, they're instant impact guys. This is why you were given the #1 impact freshman class by, I think it was Baseball America, whoever it was, because you have freshmen that are going to impact you winning games this year. And I think Beatty can do that. If he's not catching, you could bring him in as a designated hitter when you got guys on base to get something sparked. He can be your designated hitter, pinch hitter, designated hitter, whatever it is. And Blaze Priester can do the same. But Luis Hernandez is another guy that is caught really well, has a good arm, and has some pop. He hit 23 homers last year with the Sycamores, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be tough to play Aaron Beatty over Hernandez, but this is catcher. You can rotate them. You know, they have more depth than they had last year. So if nothing else, that's going to help them a lot.
And Luis Hernandez, I mean, I literally told the guys that clip our videos to put them on YouTube and all that. I was like, can y'all clip how many times he says Luis Hernandez?
Me?
No, not you. Jay.
Yeah. He loves him.
Dude, absolutely adores the kid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, you know he said Luis Hernandez 19 times?
I believe it, and that's good picking up by you, because usually when you're getting talked about and you're mentioned by the coach, you're heavily involved in what's going on, you know?
Dude, he said Luis or Hernandez or Luis Hernandez in some context 19 times.
Yeah. I mean, based on what I've seen, there's a reason for that. You know, he really impressed me in the exhibition games, and he's a guy that could have been drafted but didn't, so I think that they're very happy to have him. He didn't catch much last year at Indiana State because they had a really good catcher. Jay mentioned that in his press conference. But to me, it seems like it's been pretty seamless, that transition. And he brings the offense to the power and the pop. So some of that power they're going to need to replace White and Travinsky.
Let's go to the staff, the pitching staff. What have you seen from them? What do you like? What do you dislike?
Yeah, so, you know, in theory, you brought in guys and you return guys that can fill the holes that you need, in theory, right? Like you lose Jump, you lose Holman. Okay, well, you get Ianson out of the transfer portal. I mean, you bring Cade Anderson back. So you bring in William Schmidt. I mean, there's a lot of names, you know, and in theory, these guys.
Brought in Zach Cowan from Walford.
Yes, Zach Cowan. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the roster right now. Connor Ware's another guy. He was their best pitcher in the fall, coach said. And my point is that, in theory, these guys are filling these holes, and they're ready to go right away. I'm just not sure about that, though. You know, like right now, who are you confident in being your Friday night starter? From what I've seen, the only guys that I'd be confident in 100% are Cade Anderson and Connor Ware. And Ware's coming from the JUCO level. He's very good. He's looked very good. But pitching on a Friday night in the SEC is a little bit different. Cade Anderson looked good in Sparks last year when they brought him in the SEC tournament. Some of those bigger games, not the Tuesdays against Xavier or whoever else, Rice, whatever it is. But he hasn't started an SEC game, you know, and extended yet. So in theory, they have answers. They have guys. They have good stats, good numbers where they come from, but they haven't done it yet. So I have my questions. But I think that they have plenty of options. So if one's not working, they have more that they can go to. I think they're very deep. They're very versatile. And I've seen a lot of different guys in a lot of different situations. So I think it'll be a little bit better than last year. I don't think it's as top heavy, though. I think the problem last year was you had three really good ones: Jump, Holman, Herring, and Guidry as well. But after that, you didn't really have a lot of proven guys, which is why they lost so many games on Sunday. And they struggled in those Friday and Saturdays in the middle when they had to take their starters out and go to the pen.
Yeah, and even Gavin. I mean, Gavin got rocked last year. I mean, they had – remember, it was God bless his name. I was literally thinking of him, Will Helmers.
Yes.
I mean, brother, Will Helmers was your main guy going into at the end of it.
Should have been the whole year.
Well, if you would have told me a year ago that Will Helmers would be on the mound against North Carolina to close out a game and would dominate, I'd say either number one, he had just had a massive leap, or number two, we're in big trouble.
Yeah. Well, maybe not, you know.
I don't, you know, that's just always interesting. Chase Shores kind of got touched on a little bit. Thoughts?
Yeah. You know, take it with a grain of salt. He's coming back from Tommy John. Physically, that's difficult. Mentally, that's difficult. The staff was ready to play him if they made it to Omaha last year, which is crazy. And they wouldn't just say that for no reason. But from what I've seen, and I've seen him many times since last September, whenever they started fall ball and they had open scrimmages, just a lot of ups and downs. You know, like 1 minute he's throwing a wild pitch, 1 minute he's walking two straight batters, but then the next he strikes out 3 in a row, you know? So a little sporadic. It's there. You see the flashes, but the command and the control, for whatever reason, just haven't been cleaned up. And when he's on the mound, there's a lot of talking. The catchers, everybody in the dugout, let's go Shores, you know, like nonstop. They're trying to mentally, like, stay positive in his head. And maybe that's part of the problem, is that mentally he's not back to where he needs to be quite yet. So they're trying to help lead him on. I think he can get there, but that's why I'm saying it's kind of like Thatcher Hurd last year. Everybody kind of assumed Thatcher Hurd was going to be the Friday night guy because he came back and he looked good in Omaha. Chase Shores, big recruit, big guy, looked good as a freshman. It was just an injury, no big deal. Well, no, it's a pretty serious injury. Gage Jump came back and had a remarkable season off of Tommy John. But it's not a given.
He was your ace. Let's call him what he was. He was your ace.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was the guy with the season on the line in the last game of the year. He was on the mound. That was remarkable. That is not a given. It's not a given that you come back from surgery like that and dominate. So what I'm trying to say is that I've seen it, but I'm not 100% confident if I'm Jay Johnson that he's my Friday night guy right now.
It's interesting. Who has been the best on the mound that you've seen?
I think the two guys I mentioned before. I think Ianson's looked good. I haven't seen him in a little while, so I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. I hope to see him this week on Friday, Saturday, whatever it is. Connor Ware and Cade Anderson are my two. I mean, Cade had 6 strikeouts in 3 innings in his start this past week in his scrimmage. Every time I've seen him, he's looked good. He's looked comfortable. He got a lot of great experience last year. He said when we spoke with him at Media Day that obviously growing up in Louisiana, it's your dream to be a starter and a Friday night starter at that. So he's got that internal motivation, I think, to be that guy growing up, going to St. Paul's High School, wanting to be the alpha dog for the pitching staff this year. And Connor Ware, as I said, from Pearl River Community College, a JUCO junior, and I've talked to some people, Koki Riley from The Advocate, we were talking today. He said that he's spoken to scouts and they love him. Jay Johnson loves him. He went on record. He's gone on record multiple times saying he was the best pitcher they had in the fall. And in Biloxi, Sanford could not hit him. And I've seen him in the inter-squad scrimmages, a lot of strikeouts. So Connor Ware or Cade Anderson are my 1 and 2 right now, Friday, Saturday.
You know, the funny thing about Connor Ware, with the ruling coming down from the court system on JUCO players, I mean, he technically doesn't have only 2 years. He technically now has 4.
He's out. He's the one done. He's not using. He's healthy and has the year that everyone thinks he can have.
I'm just playing.
He's out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just playing.
That's interesting.
Saying. That is very interesting. John Eads, WAFB, is our guest. I gotta ask you one more thing about baseball, and then I want to move to some football with you, actually, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Very quickly. Anything else that we didn't touch on here that you kind of stood out to you? I mean, look, John, you were out there for 4 games. I mean, that's a lot. There's got to be a lot to take away. What is there anything that I missed that you were just like, hey man, like this is something I need to address?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot to take in. I'll say that. I got 2 things.
Okay.
Let me start with this. Today, I thought it was interesting. Sometimes you show up and you look at the scoreboard and you're like, what the heck we got going on here? The score's like 90-60. What is this scoring system? Today, they did 2 different sets of this. They started the game in the 7th inning, tie score 3-3, go win the game. And Jay Johnson mentioned it in his press conference. This year's team, they always stress fundamentals. It's going to come down to these close games, where you need to go and manufacture a run and then get 6 outs, 3 outs, 9 outs, whatever it is to win the game. So I think it's interesting that they're working on these specific situations where it's a tie game, go win it, right now. And guys have looked good in these situations, getting singles, stealing and hitting a single hit and run, getting to third, sack fly, bunt, boom, you're in. And Jay Johnson thrives as that kind of a coach where he's giving guys specific duties. And he said this himself, and having them execute those specific duties to win the game. So I think what they're preaching is what they're doing in practice, and they're going to be very ready for a lot of these close games. And I think that they've got what they need to execute and pull them out. So it's this year, it's not going to be a woo, Tommy White, big grand slam, and the crowd goes wild, sexy plays like that. Now, there could be some of those. It's going to be more of Ashton Larson takes 12 pitches and walks. Chris Stanfield, bloop single to left, double steal, 3rd and 2nd, bunt, run scores. It's going to be more of that, just guys stepping into the box, having a job and doing it. It's not going to be sexy, but it's going to be winning, I think. And what do you care more about? Winning. On that note, a lot of people I've been putting clips out there of Stephen Milam at short, at third. He's going to be on the left side of the infield. It's just a matter of where. For whatever reason, people are doubting Stephen Milam and his ability to throw the ball from short. Like,
Yeah,
what are we doing? What about what you've seen Milam do since he's been at LSU gives you any reason to doubt that man?
I think it's because the only thing that I could walk away from with, and I don't agree with this at all. I don't. I guess because Bear had to pick one out of the dirt, they're like, "Oh, he couldn't make that throw from short." You know what I'm saying? I know.
Out of 27 in a baseball game, and like, now I could have phrased what I said differently, but my point is, you can't jump to conclusions when you're not even at the scrimmage or at the practice based on a social media clip. And you really think Stephen Milam can't make a throw from short? Are you out of your mind? Come on.
Yeah, I think that's dumb. I thought him and Braswell, for what I saw, which wasn't much other than stuff that you had posted, the only thing that I saw is them making really good plays. Him and Braswell. And I thought Braswell looked fine at third base.
He does.
You know who else I thought looked fine at third base was Pearson.
Yeah. John
Pearson.
I think he's going to be a stud, man. He's really shown some flashes. I'm not sure what his impact will be this year. I think it will be something. But I think a year and a half down the road, he's going to be one of the next stars of this team for his ability to hit but also defend, man. He doesn't look like he'd be a great defender just because he's a bigger guy.
He's the Cajun Pablo Sandoval.
Exactly. But he moves well, man. He's got a good glove. Braswell has that athleticism, has that playmaking ability. And I think it's going to help him that he now only has to worry about one side of the diamond. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to make him even better. The one thing I'll say, this is the last thing I want to talk about regarding Braswell. I don't know if you heard this when he was in media day.
The injury.
Yes, why he struggled last year. Mentals and knee tendonitis in both knees. That's why he came out hot in the second half of the year, because he got healthier. So I wonder, because a lot of his struggles were in the first half of the year, defensively, offensively, if that really plagued him that much, and if he would be a plus shortstop, fully healthy. With that said, Milam is just an absolute star. Grounding or fielding grounders, moving laterally, shifting. He can do it all. So I think you really can't go wrong with either of those guys at third or second. And they've been changing it literally every inning at these scrimmages. Milam at third, and they switch him, and they've both done a great job. Haven't seen any slip-ups personally. Maybe it throws in the dirt, but Jared Jones is an All-American, and he picked it. And you know what? It was still an out. Would you rather have a sexy play that's not an out or a nasty play that is an out? Probably the latter. That's it.
I love this little fired up John Eads I got right now.
Man, just because people like be thinking they're like experts in all these things based on one social media clip. It's like if you watch Jaden Daniels throw a pass and it's overthrown. Man, this guy sucks. Are you stupid? This man has thrown 1 million passes in his life, and you make an opinion based on one pass. Like, oh, get out of here. I'll talk to y'all in April after Stephen Milam pulls off a Derek Jeter-esque play.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is for sure. All right. Football with you right quick. I know that spring will be here soon enough, but LSU in the portal, number 1 class part 247. I mean, a lot of changes at LSU football-wise. Your thoughts on that?
Yes. I think from a broad strokes perspective, they're going all in on 25. You know, like the resources they've invested, they need to hit on this portal class. They haven't hit on the portal classes before. You know, they've gotten a couple diamonds in the rough. Obviously, Jaden Daniels was a stud out of the portal. But by and large part, their transfers have not been plus guys. So they need to find the happy medium between those two. And I really like the class. But same with baseball. Theoretically, these guys fit the system. They have responsibilities. They come in and thrive. But it's not a given. So I think they've invested a lot of resources into this, and it has to succeed, because otherwise, where do you go from here? You know, you're bringing in top 10 classes every year out of high school. You brought in some good portal classes before. You're kind of putting all your eggs in this transfer portal basket here.
Yes.
So if this doesn't work, what other solution do you have? You had 3 finalists of the 5 for AP Rookie of the Year in the NFL. And you couldn't even make the playoff. What more? What more do you need? I don't know. So it's a good class. I like it. I like the guys they brought in. They did well. They missed on a few, but by and large part, they got what they wanted and needed. Now they got to go and freaking win games, man.
It is a prove-it year, brother. It's a prove-it year, man. I mean, like, you can't – I mean, look, nobody should be happy with 8-4. And look, I'm going to keep saying this. You're talking about the portal. I'm with you. Look, you brought in 4 defensive linemen. You can't tell me that you thought that unit was good when you brought in 4. You brought in a hybrid that rushes the passer from the interior. You brought 2 edge guys, and you brought a guy that's 350 pounds to plug up the middle. Yep. You cannot convince me that you think remotely that you're close to where you want to be on the line of scrimmage defensively. Brian Kelly's given up 250 rushing yards per SEC loss at LSU. It's not good enough.
No.
And so, look, you could not run the football a year ago. So you can have the Jaden Daniels, the Malik Neighbors, the Brian Thomas, my brother in Christ. If you cannot line up and run the football, you're going to get your ass whooped. And that is just the bottom line.
That's where it starts.
It's where it starts. Think about this. Think of every national champion in the last 6 years. They all have a 1,000-yard rusher, and they're all top 10 in rushing. Mm-hmm. All of them. Mm-hmm. All of them were in the top 10 to 15 in total defense. Like that, don't tell me that there's not a winning formula. That is the winning formula. Look at Penn State. Look at Ohio State. Look at Notre Dame. Look at why Georgia and all those other teams didn't make it. Why Texas couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't make it from second and goal from the 1. They were scared to run up the middle because they couldn't. Yeah. That's the point that I'm trying that I would make too. Now, there's an interesting part about this. John, I don't know outside of 2022 that I don't know anything about this team. I know about Garrett. I feel like I know about some pieces. As a whole, I know absolutely dilly squat about this team.
Well, there's a lot of questions, you know.
That's not a good place to be.
No. With that said, though, I do like what they return. I think a lot of guys stepped up and proved themselves a little bit last year, and now they come back and they'll try to elevate their status. You know, Aaron Anderson, Xavion Thomas, obviously Nuss, Caden Durham. Defensively, they did okay. I mean, getting Harold Perkins back is big. Obviously, what condition is he in? What position is he playing? That's a big question. Sometimes, though, you know, the unknowns aren't such a bad thing. I feel like there might be more unknowns about this team this year than there were last year. And sometimes those things that you're sure about aren't so sure. Like, we all thought the offensive line with 4 of the 5 guys back would dominate this year. That didn't happen. So sometimes it's nice to be pleasantly surprised. And maybe that'll be the case this year with all these new guys they're bringing in and putting this thing together, you know?
Yeah, Josh Thompson, Braylon Moore, those guys they brought on the offensive line, they got to be big. All right, John Eads, WAFB. Good evening, good sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find all y'all's work.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime. I mean, man, you put in the legwork. I got to bring you on to talk about it, man.
Just having fun, man. Some of the best memories I've had since I've been down here have been baseball related. You know, the A&M home series. Hoover was incredible. And then Chapel Hill was really fun, you know, that whole ride. So I'm looking forward to making more this year. So trying to go into year 2 of being around for it with as much information as possible. So, but yeah, you can give me a follow on social media, John Eads, WAFB. And I do a podcast on YouTube called Game Time with John Eads on our WAFB YouTube page. So you can check us out there. Doing a lot of baseball content like you, Blake, now that the season's a couple weeks away. And it seems like a lot of the attention is turning that way. You know, you can't post anything on social media without riling people up one way or the other, good or bad, about baseball right now. So I think people are ready.
and look, I love women's basketball, and I think that, you know, other than flashes from Trey Green, which, by the way, holy shit.
Yeah.
Trey Green. Dude, I don't – I'm going to say it. I probably shouldn't. I'm going to go ahead and say it. He's the best athlete at LSU right now, top to bottom. I don't give 2 Rudy Poos when anybody tells me. This man literally blocked a 3-point shot, went down the court like he's a left-handed LeBron, and yay!
I didn't know he was left-handed even. That was nuts.
Dude, my man, yes. Yeah. Left-handed, that thing. Ha!
Yeah.
And then you know that you got forced to you when you hear the net go, poosh. at the end of a dunk. That's when you know you bringing that thing down. That's what she said. But that's when you know.
Classic.
That's when you know you bringing it down.
Yeah.
That dude is a freak. Dude, their tight end room, speaking of football, I'm sorry to keep you longer than that room is going to be insane. Mm-hmm. They got to get a tight ends coach. I don't know where they go there. Maybe an analyst. I have no idea. I have no clue what they're going to do. But my God, they got serious talent there. Throw 14 the football and get out of the way.
Yeah. Donovan Green, Bauer Sharp, right?
Yes. J.D. LaFleur.
Yeah.
Y'all going to go ahead. It's like dodgeball. Y'all go ahead and literally underestimate a LaFleur. Y'all do that. See what happens.
I'll tell you what, man. The bowl game got me excited between Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Trey Dez, obviously, Xavion. Like, they got some dudes, and then the field general's back to lead it. So,
well, and you're adding Barry and Brown and Nick Anderson. What happens there too, man? I mean, that's going to be a big deal. All right, I kept you too long. John Eads, WAFB. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that's John Eads. Glad to have him in here. Fantastic. My man is fantastic at what he does. All right, we went a little bit long there. We're going to head out. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace.